Oh, look, sales have doubled. Well, yes, but if there's no profits to go with it, like that's actually bad news, right? If I'm
Yes.
losing money on every sale, but don't worry, sales are growing. If you're on the margins anyway, it's gonna be tough. I mean, there's no sort of sugarcoating that. Well, guess what? If Amazon's 95% of your sales, you're not diversified anyway, right? If you lose that listing, Newegg and Etsy aren't saving your ass,
No.
right? You're already cooked.
Are you an e-commerce business looking to be more profitable? And if the answer is no, I recommend you sell your business and get out of the e-commerce space. But if the answer is yes, you might find some answers with the accounting side of things. Today, I'm going to be talking with a member of the CapForge team, a business designed specifically around accounting for e-commerce businesses and accounting for growth, using your accounting and using potentially your missed opportunity of profitability to further increase your sales this year, next year, and every year going forward. Today's guest is Matt Remuzzi. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about really, and I kind of led into it a little bit, but talking about accounting for growth and talking about how you should be doing your accounting for specifically for your e-commerce business or just business in general. This is an e-commerce podcast, so I'm going to be focusing a lot on that aspect. But it's wonderful to have you and wonderful to talk and learn more about why a lot of brands are not doing this right or how they could be doing better.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's something that comes up all the time, right?
Hmm.
People switch over to us because they say, I don't really trust the numbers I have. I don't know if I'm profitable or not. I don't know exactly how to look at what I've got and figure out how to make it better.
Right.
Right. And those are all the kinds of answers that we want to help them with. It's not, I don't talk to people about, let's look at your journal entries. Let's look at debits and credits, right? That's behind the scenes nonsense that you as a business owner don't need to worry about. But what you do want to understand is if you sell a product for $30, at the end of the day, are you making $3? Are you making $5? Are you breaking even? Are you losing $5? Right? Because that's what matters. Because if you do that over and over again, your bank balance is either going to go up or it's going to go down or it's going to go underwater.
Right.
And that's the part that you care about or should care about as a business owner and want to know and want to get more and more sort of in depth on so you can make good decisions about, keeping your business going and doing well.
Right. And just to get right into it, what are some of the I know you mentioned that already kind of with the cogs and with not thinking about that, but what are some of the other pitfalls that let's say like e-commerce businesses maybe tend to not anticipate, whether they're brand new or whether they've been doing this for a while? What are some things that you guys help with that again, some of these businesses are not looking for or they're not thinking about when they're starting their business or even when they're just in going through the motions of selling?
Right. I mean, the list is long,
Yep.
right? So at the highest level, the first thing people miss, especially new business owners, but even, I've talked to 8-figure sellers who go, we don't really have books. What? What do you mean you don't really have books? Like,
Oh
that's
man.
like driving a car with the windshield blacked out.
Right.
Like, yeah, we were going to get around to cleaning it, but we just haven't done it yet.
Oh
Like, well,
gosh.
you're lucky you haven't gone off a cliff because that's the kind of thing that happens when you drive around in a car with
Right.
your windshield blacked out. So first level is just have bookkeeping. But the second level is you really want to have bookkeeping specifically for ecom. And then the kinds of things that start to come to light are, maybe your hero SKU is doing well, but you've got these other SKUs that aren't doing well. They're actually dragging down your performance. Or maybe you're not taking into account the number of returns you have or product losses just from being moved from one warehouse to the other, a 3PL to Amazon, you lose products. That is a real cost of doing business that you have to factor in. Of course, tariffs is all new territory for people
Ugh.
trying to figure out how to play that.
Yeah.
And then ad spend, right? It's you talk to, the wrong agency and they'll run your ad spend to the moon with no real results. Or they might show you, oh, look, sales have doubled. Well, yes, but if there's no profits to go with it, like that's actually bad news, right? If I'm
Yes.
losing money on every sale, but don't worry, sales are growing. Like, well, yes, I should be worrying a lot about that. So there's a lot of ways it can go wrong. Luckily, if you can see what's going wrong, you can figure out how to make those course corrections, get back on track, and grow in a way that's going to be positive and beneficial. But if you're driving around blind, the chances of running into a telephone pole or driving off a cliff just get higher and higher the longer you go without
Yes.
knowing what's going on.
Very high up there, I would say those chances are, yes. And, you mentioned a lot of great stuff, and we'll get into a lot of those things. I definitely wanna talk about tariffs, and I would love to talk more about how either if you have any real world examples of people not adapting to the tariffs, or they're just not planning for it correctly, and how people can better plan for them correctly, but that's a very it's a very big topic right now, especially going into quarter 4 where prices are gonna be a lot higher, for everything involved with Amazon, whether it be FBA costs, storage costs, all this stuff. And so what have we been seeing since I can't say any names because then YouTube won't let us advertise, but what have we been seeing since let's say January of this year and since these tariffs have been rolling out? What has been happening to e-commerce sellers, and how have you guys adapted and helped your businesses and helped your partners get through it?
Well, I mean, so we're talking in the middle of September now, right? So
Right.
there's been a lot of talk of this is coming. And then there was back and forth. It's going to be this much. Now it's down. Now it's up again. A lot of people, first half of the year, manufacturers stocked up on inventory, distributors stocked up on inventory, bought ahead before these things came into place. What we're finally seeing now, right? And a lot of this talk was April, May timeframe
Mhm.
where things were going to kick off. What we're seeing now is, and a lot of you're on a kind of a 90-day cycle, right? You order a product today, you can expect to have it in about 90 days. Well,
Right.
we're about 90 days out from April, May. So all the stuff that happened then, now it's coming to the time where the reorders are going to start
Right.
being impacted. The stocked up inventory is about run out. And this is finally where the pain is kind of kicking in, or the real considerations of what are we going to do is hitting people. And for some people who planned ahead, there's certain strategies you can employ where, you source your product from, or where the primary component of your product is from. Right. I heard on a podcast the other day the example of a blender. Well, the majority of the blender was made in China, but the blade itself was sourced from Germany, and they considered the blade to be the key part of the blender. And so then they could shift where the entire blender was sourced as far as, so there's strategy, but that takes time and research and effort, and it's not
Mm.
easy to do and it's not cheap.
No. Definitely not
So
cheap.
not everybody has gotten on board with this or has the resources to get on board with that. And, not everybody has the pricing power to say, well, we're going to just crank our prices up 20% and the consumers will just absorb it. So, I think now is when we're going to start seeing the real impact of those decisions that were made earlier in the year that we're going to have to live with now. And my suspicion is there's going to be a certain amount of pain that's going to have to happen before there's maybe some adjustments or relenting on some of these, from the people who make those decisions. But if you're on the margins anyway, it's gonna be tough. I mean, there's no sort of sugarcoating that.
Right, if you're already there, before you do we talked about this in an episode where we talked about doing discounts for quarter 4. I mean, we spoke about the tariffs and all this stuff, and if you're feeling the weight of it already, there's no way you can offer a 20% discount on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. And that, of course, in turn, we're getting a little bit out of about a little bit out of accounting and into more the actual sales on Amazon, but you feel the effects of that for sure. Because again, you're not able to do the 20% discount. If you do that, then you are not making money on a product. And yeah, like you said, you're selling more, but you're not making money on a product basis. Um,
Right. And
yeah,
this all comes back to accounting, right? The
yeah,
reason any of us are in business is to make a profit, right? We don't think of ourselves as just profit driven, purely in it for the cash. But at the end of the day, if the business doesn't generate more money than it costs to run, it's unsustainable, right? You can borrow for a while, you can get investors, but ultimately, a business has to be able to pay all its bills and then have enough left over to justify the effort. Otherwise, get a job at Starbucks, right?
right.
And forget the whole e-commerce thing. So it's really critical that you have the accounting in place to know what those numbers are and to know where you're at before you pull out a credit card or dip into that line of credit again
Right.
and go, well, I just need 20K to get by, or I just going to put 50K on the Amex and buy more inventory. If you don't realize that when you do that, it's going to cost you $60,000 and there won't be any money to repay that borrowing, that's probably, you would have made a different decision. So
Right.
you got to know where you're at first to even make decisions. And then from there, you want to be able to make decisions that put you in a better place
Right.
and drive you towards profitability or higher profitability rather than just sink you into debt.
Right. And without divulging too many CapForge secrets, is there anything or any examples that you have of a real life scenario where a business wasn't prepared for the tariffs, or a business is currently struggling with tariffs, and something that you guys, how you helped them get out of this, or how you're working towards leveraging for growth for them?
Yeah, I mean, we had just this week a client that was struggling and they hadn't hit the tariffs yet, but they were looking at what the prices were going to be and how they were going to survive this. And they're a relatively new client to us. And we said, well, the first place we always like to start is let's look at the whole catalog.
Hmm.
And they had over 100 active SKUs. And as it turned out, over 30 of their 100 SKUs were losing money, right?
Oh,
Before even factoring in ad spend, right? With ad
oh,
spend, it was even worse.
yeah,
So, okay, look, if you cut these 30 SKUs, just sell remaining inventory, don't order anymore, cut all the ad spend on them, this is what happens to your cash. It obviously goes up substantially. That, as it turns out, is going to be enough to cover the added cost of the tariffs and put you basically back where you were. But then we also could see that they were under investing in their most profitable SKUs and pushing hard on SKUs that, although they had a positive margin, weren't nearly as positive. So we looked at, here's how to reallocate some of your ad spend, and then maybe considering building some bundles, right?
hmm,
Some higher value bundles that you can then sell at, again, a higher margin. And really, every product that you sell, right, has to be pulling its own weight.
right,
There's no point in having 10 amazing profitable products and then 10 that suck. Right? Why have those 10? Because I
yeah,
think sometimes the mentality is, well, more is better, or I want to give my customers variety or whatever else. But look, these are virtual shelves. The customer can't tell. They don't, if you sell shampoo, you don't also have to sell hairbrushes. If the hairbrushes don't make money, nobody's looking at you. "Oh, I'm not going to buy your shampoo if I can't buy a brush from you."
right.
They don't care, right?
That's
So
a good point.
every single product has to stand on its own merit and be profitable and be worth selling, as if it was your only SKU, right? Just ask yourself, if this was the only SKU I was selling, would I still do it? And if the answer is no, because I lose money and I barely make any money and it's hard to sell and nobody cares, then get rid of it. But I think that's not an obvious, intuitive thing that a lot of sellers think. They think, add more products. More products is the path to more sales, but not really. I'd rather sell 5 really profitable products than 100 so-so products.
I like that. I might try and get that quote for the thumbnail here. Every product individually should be successful or should be profitable, and it should be like it's you should sell every product individually like it's your only
If
product.
it
I like
if it
that.
was the only product you were selling, would you still sell it? And if it doesn't pass that test, then
Yeah, like then what are you doing? You're right. That's very interesting. It's a very interesting thought too of going in there and that's the first thing you guys do is look at an individual SKU basis. I would not have thought that. I would have thought of looking at ad sales and or ad spend and cogs and inventory costs and shipping and all that stuff. But it makes sense to break it down like that on a catalog level as well.
well, and what happens is you may very well have some great products, some great SKUs, and what they're doing is their success is masking the failure
Mm,
of the other products, right? So it's like, if you said, "Can you hike a mile?" and you go, "Yeah." Like, would it be easier if you took that other guy off your back? Oh, yeah, you're right. It would be a lot. I can do it, right,
yeah.
with the guy on my back, but it'd be a hell of a lot easier if I throw that guy off my back. I'd
Right.
be able to finish a lot faster. I'd have more energy. I could do other things. So it's the same, the business is doing okay, but if you pared it down to just its optimum performance, it could do a lot better. And then that frees up cash to either keep pushing the stuff that's working, or maybe, incrementally experiment with some new additions, but each one, again, it has to pull its own weight.
Hmm.
If you kind of test it for 90 days and it's not there, yank it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people too, they launch products, they put a lot of ad spend behind it, and they kind of forget about it. They don't check in, right? Is this still worth selling? I don't know. I'll just keep throwing money. Try some more keywords. 9 months in, all we've done is lose money with it. And they're like, oh, well, maybe we should. Yeah, you should have cut it, 6 months ago.
To put it crudely, you gotta cut the dead weight. You gotta get rid of it. You gotta get rid of it. That's very interesting. It's not something I will say, Matt, that I've heard many people that are specific to Amazon that say, "Oh, I'm an Amazon specialist." I've never heard someone say that, to say like, "Oh, it's like you said earlier, everyone always wants to launch as many products as possible. They want their catalogs to be as large as they possibly can get them, and they don't. You're right. They don't check. They don't care if they're profitable or not. They just want or they don't think if they're profitable or not. They just want as big as many products as you possibly can get in there. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. It's again something I had not heard before. So thank you for that new perspective. I always like to learn something on these episodes, and I feel like I've already done that in the first couple of minutes here, which is great.
Good. All right.
So
Well, hey, nice
appreciate
talking to
that.
you. Take
Yes,
care.
thanks. Appreciate you coming on. No, looking at another kind of aspect of the e-commerce business. So uh, most of the time, they often have e-commerce businesses often have multiple sales channels, a lot of different payment methods. They're coming in from whether it's their Shopify, it's their Amazon, it's their Walmart, it's their other niche websites that they're on. How do you guys approach the revenue recognition to understand where all this comes from, to better maybe ensure reporting, and better ensure that you're giving the most accurate information possible, not just to the sellers, but then to the tax people, and like you said, maybe how to best identify dead weight.
Right. So, I mean, anybody who has more than one channel in our reporting, we break it up by channel. So we'll
Hmm.
show you your Amazon sales, fees, COGS, and ad spend versus Walmart, sales, fees, COGS, ad spend versus Etsy versus whatever
Right.
platforms you're on. And then, basically do the same analysis. Okay. And we see this all the time, right? Amazon is 95% of your sales. Walmart is 5% of your
Right.
sales. How much time do you spend on Walmart versus Amazon? Because if it's more than 5% of your time to be there, then it already probably doesn't make sense.
Right.
And how much inventory are you tying up there, and how much effort? And if it's not producing for you, does it still make sense to continue, or
Yeah.
is it better to gather your resources into what's working
Got to cut it.
and cut it,
Yeah.
and I see that all the time, people, oh, we're on 8 platforms. Great. Well, so I see in the last 12 months, you made $100 on Etsy, right? You made $50 on Newegg. How about we cut down to the two that work, right? Amazon and Shopify, and the rest of them. What's the point, right? Why are you spending time and effort to keep track of all these channels and figure out why are my Newegg sales down? I don't know, it's $50. Like, who cares? Your other channel's 1 million, right? It's not even a rounding error. It'd have to go up 100x to be a
Right.
rounding error number. So
I'm down from $60
let's
a month. Now I'm only selling 55. What am I gonna do?
what? Oh, I'm
I need a
losing
team.
sleep over that.
I need a
Oh my
company-wide
God.
meeting on this. We got to figure it out. We got to crack it down. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. People, that
Yes.
actually happens. Like that's a real life example of
Oh yeah,
that's
that
crazy.
that happens, because just like people think a bigger catalog is good, they think,
Mm,
well, oh, I don't want to be totally dependent on Amazon. Sometimes, oh, I heard companies are worth more if they sell on more platforms, or what if Amazon, cancels my listing
right.
or something? I want to be diversified. Well, guess what? If Amazon's 95% of your sales, you're not diversified anyway, right? If you lose that listing, Newegg and Etsy aren't saving your ass,
No.
right? That's
Yeah.
you're already cooked. So don't, and by the way, it's not like some buyer is gonna, oh, I was gonna pay you 1 million for your business, but I see that you also have some Etsy sales, so now it's 1.5 million. No, like, they're not idiots.
No.
They can
Yeah.
see proportionately where you're at, and diversification is only valuable if you're actually truly diversified in a way that makes sense and is profitable and benefits the business. Otherwise, again, it's just window dressing,
Right.
right? It doesn't
It's,
doesn't help anything.
yeah.
So again, that's why you want to have your accounting done by somebody who understands e-com and can break all this out for you. And then 2, you want to have your accounting done so you can look at this and go, oh my God, I should do things differently. I should fix this. And that will improve my sales and my profits and my cash in a meaningful way, and not just be window dressing, or not, be a vanity metric. Oh, I sell 10,000 SKUs. How many do you sell? Well, you lose $100,000 a month. How
Yeah.
much do I don't lose anything a month.
I don't lose
So
nothing. Yeah, exactly.
which metric do you want to compare again?
It's like the LeBron and Jordan debate. It sounds like it's very people like to focus on their one side, but there's a right answer.
Yeah.
It's
In this case, we're all in business to be profitable,
right,
right? And then if you want to give all of your profits away to charity, great. I think you're an amazing person, but you have to have profits in the first place to do that. An unprofitable business is, there's not much point. What you're helping the consumers, right? You're selling your products at a price that they should have to pay more, but they're not. You're
right.
giving them, a nice bonus on selling it so cheaply, and the manufacturer is making money, and Amazon, by God, is making money, right?
Hmm.
They're definitely taking their cut. So really, you're the only one that's losing, and you're taking your personal savings or your family's money or credit cards money that you're going to owe,
Investors,
and
yeah.
putting it, and just giving it away.
Ugh.
So just give it straight to the charity if you want to do it
Right. Don't
that
even
way.
make a business. Just donate it right then and
Yeah,
there.
so much easier. So much easier.
Very interesting. Very interesting thing. Again, things that I've never either thought about too difficultly or just never heard this take from someone to say. And it makes sense, but it makes sense, to say don't expand if it doesn't make any sense. Why are you a outdoor company on Chewy? Why do you want to expand so much to shop or to Walmart when Walmart, like I think about when we do these analyses for people on the sales side of things, and they come in, they say, okay, well, we're on Amazon right now, we're doing about $1 million a month, and we want to really expand to Walmart, and they're a $2,000 shoe, and it's, well, I don't know, are you sure? That's not, the usual case. Sometimes it's a little bit more practical, but even still, I mean, if there's not a market for it, why are you going there? And if you're not, even if you test it out, like you said, test it out for 90 days, like the product, and you're not making money, what are we doing investing in this? What are we doing putting our time and energy into this?
Right.
We
People say the same thing, or ask the question to us all the time too, about expanding to Europe, as if it was just
yes,
a second United States, right?
yeah,
Oh,
like
I
it's
want to
so
really
easy,
double our sales, so let's go to Europe.
right?
Well, first of all, Europe's not a thing. It's France, it's Germany, it's Italy. It's been all of which have different languages and different buying, cultures, and different value metrics and everything else. And
Regulations, all this,
by
yeah.
the way, your product is US flag, so I don't see it being a big hit over
Let's see
there
it.
anyway.
Let's see it not
So
being successful. Let's just think about this logically here. Right. Right.
yeah.
Ugh. It makes sense. And again, the same thing with like we said earlier, if it's not, if we use a fun graphic, fun, I don't know how to describe it, but one of the business models that we kind of say is that we will help you distribute, place your chips, place your bets in the right spot. You don't want to bet on the jockey that's hungover and is not going to race well. And it's not worth your time. It's not worth your money there. You don't want to bet.
Like, does that horse have 3 legs?
Yeah. And you're
Like, wait a
invest.
minute.
What are we doing? You have, I don't really know poker that well, but let's say like a blackjack, you have 17. You sure? You sure you want to go for it? So it's very, it, it, it it helps knowing this. And again, the visibility of having a reliable accounting firm, I can imagine, would make this decision even more easier. It's almost like seeing what the rest of the table has, saying, okay, I'm gonna fold or I'm gonna go all in. So, but for your own business, of course.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they shy away from it because I hear all the time, "Oh, I'm not a numbers person." They act like I'm gonna say, "Hey, why don't you come over to my house and we'll just do calculus for a couple
Yeah.
hours?" Like, no, yeah, I'd stick knives in my eyes
That
too if
sounds
that was the
horrible.
actual. But A, we're gonna do all the heavy lifting.
Right.
We're gonna get everything together for you, and then B, we're gonna go over it with you, the parts that matter to you as a business owner. Again, I'm not going to talk to you about debits and credits and journal entries. Who cares,
Right.
right? That has no relevance to you. But I'm going to talk to you about, here's your profit and loss. Here's the sales channels that are working. Here's how much you're spending. Here's how much you're making. Let's look at your profit by SKU. Let's look at your ad spend. Let's look at your profit by channel. And you don't have to be any kind of math person or business whiz to be able to see, oh gosh, I am losing money
Right.
on some of these SKUs. that doesn't make sense, right? That's the level we're going to be talking at. But then you're going to be able to say, okay, I can see how if I stop just by not selling these anymore, I will make more money. Oh, okay, that seems pretty clear.
Right.
So we're not trying to, oh, come over, let's do some differential equations. No, no, no. You don't have to learn any math. You don't have to learn any accounting. We will break it down for you and make it super simple. But without that tool, again, you're back to the car with the blacked out windows at 60 miles an hour, hoping for the best.
Praying, saying a prayer. No, it makes a lot of sense. And let's say, to use the car example, you've looked at the numbers, you've taken the tint off of the windows, you can now see, but you still have to drive. So how are you guys, after you reveal all this information, what are some things that you're doing to help businesses, and what are some things businesses can do to leverage that visibility to growth, to take it and say, okay, now that we know this, like I said, we have some examples of you cut the loss leaders. Is there anything else that stands out that is very easy and maybe obvious that people are ignoring, to again help leverage growth?
Well, I mean, it's so a lot of times we do find, again, they're under investing in the products that have the most opportunity, the
Mm,
most margin.
right.
And then, they're over investing in stuff that just doesn't have. So reallocation of resources. And then once, if they're profitable and cash flow positive, then we can say, okay, now here's some opportunities where maybe you can source more cash. And if you invest it in the right SKUs, the right opportunities, you can grow it. And even with the interest payments, you're still going to come out ahead. We can help them kind of do those projections and calculations. Because a lot of times people, the first thing is, I just need more money, right? So,
Right.
I'm going to go borrow money. I'm going to find an inventory lender. I'm going to find a line of credit, and they're just throwing money at it, but they're not, again, they're losing more than they're going to return from that investment. And now they're just deeper in the hole. So we can help them figure out first how to be profitable and then how to now add capital to the equation that grows in a positive direction. And then again, maybe they add some more products to the catalog, but in an intentional, profitable way, not just sort of willy-nilly throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And the other thing, I mean, I have a lot of conversations with clients just at a higher level saying, what you don't want to do on Amazon or in e-commerce in general is have an undifferentiated product where you've added zero value,
Mm,
right? We had a client who was buying hard drives and then selling them, but he did nothing with them, right? They were just another company's hard drive and he just put them out there and he was offering them at a lower price than like a penny under the buy box, and he was getting some sales, but he was losing money on every one.
right.
Like, he's like, I don't understand. I got into this to be profitable. I'm like, well, what are you actually offering? Right? Someone else makes the hard
Yeah.
drive. The big distributor buys them 1,000 at a time. You're buying 10 and just putting them on Amazon. Like, what are you offering? What's your value in the supply chain? And he was like, well, I guess I don't really. Yeah. So if you don't add any value, why would you expect to have a cut of the pie of the profit? Like, it doesn't,
Right.
right? So if you can come up with products that are unique to you, that have some, intellectual property, some patentable, there's something different about it, right? I can only get this from you.
Right.
Now you have pricing power, you have, a uniqueness to you. You can get your own reviews, you can have your own community, you can have, people who are looking for your stuff, right? People who like Coke, if they search soft drink, right, they're going to scroll past Pepsi and
Mhm.
this, generic sodas and whatever, and they're going to stop at the listing for Coke. And even though it's more than some of the other ones, they're going to buy it because that's what they want, because you're offering something different. But if you don't have any differentiation in your product, there's no reason for somebody to buy yours versus the 40 other identical offerings that other people have slapped some private label name on,
Right.
but is otherwise exactly the same product. There's no margin in that, right? The people who make it over in China or wherever it gets made, they can live on 50 cents a day, right? And people in the US generally can't. So they're going to be able to underprice you, and you're not adding any value. So there's no reason for somebody to pick your product over anyone else's, and you don't have any premium pricing power. So if you get into that business, expect to have a really tough time.
Right. The people that just like the drop ship, um, I think they should be banned from Amazon. I'm not a fan of the drop shipping. No offense to any of you listeners out there that drop ship. It just isn't. It's just like I said. It's not real. It's not a real business. You're making pennies, and sure, if you sell a million of them, you make a penny on each. That's great, but it, make it unique. Make it your own business. Make it like you said. Create something, not just I don't know. The drop shipping is like meh,
Even if
for me.
you're, you don't have to necessarily make the item, but like people who put together gift baskets, right? They had to get this and then
Right.
that and put it all together and wrap it up, right? You've
Right.
added some value.
Yeah.
Or we had a client who was super successful buying the different components of gaming computers, right? He had a unique kind of case, and then you buy the hard drive and the fan and the
Hmm.
motherboard and all that stuff. We put it together. The components cost him $700. He'd sell them for 2 grand, but he took the time to design it and buy all the different parts, put it together into a
Right.
unit, and sell it to somebody who didn't then have to buy, build their own gaming computer. So you go, yeah, great. That guy deserves his margin.
Yeah.
But if all you do is I take it out of your hand and I put it in your hand and you're like, now give me $1. Like, well, I could have just grabbed it from that guy.
Yeah. For
I
nothing.
didn't need you to
Right.
insert yourself into that situation.
Middlemen.
So why would I pay you?
Middlemen. I was supposed to say I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand the business model. I don't understand the thrill of it. It's not fun. But the PC builder, again, he adds, like I said, adds value. It adds something that only he could do. Very interesting. Speaking of like the drop shipping was a big trend. Speaking of trends, kind of what have we been seeing over the last couple of years here that maybe is an emerging trend in the accounting world or maybe just the e-commerce world that's affected accounting? And what, of course, the big question I'll ask after this is what's coming next? What are you expecting to see with either the rest of this presidential term or the rest of the next couple of years? What are we seeing? What's coming next?
It's interesting. From where we're sitting now, we can look back and see that from 2020 to 2023, the world was nuts, right? Everybody was stuck home. COVID was happening. Free government money was flowing.
Hmm.
People were ordering online like it was going out of business, right? And the problem was a lot of people in e-commerce looked at that and went, this is normal. This is just how it's going to be, and operated accordingly.
Hmm.
And then in 24 and this year, it went the other direction, right? Things opened up again. People started going back to stores and malls. And it's not that online ordering is going away or people aren't still ordering from Amazon, but just the volume of it and the excitement of it, you know, went the other
Right.
direction. And a lot of people who thought they were genius business people realized, no, it's just COVID just gave me this once in a lifetime opportunity. And I rode the wave for a while, but I thought I was a genius and really I was just on this wave. And now the wave's crashed and so that has washed a lot of people out along with the incoming, it's got easier and easier for the manufacturers to go direct to the consumers, even on platforms like Amazon and Walmart and of course Shopify and everything else, and flood the market with competition where they can compete on price because they're the people that make it. So they cut out all the middlemen. They're willing to live with less margin. And whereas you could buy something for $5 and sell it for 20 now, you go look online and you see someone else is selling it for 750 and you still have to buy it for 5
Right.
and pay Amazon 5 and spend 5 on ads. And it's just not viable anymore. So all those things have kind of happened in the last 5 years, and e-commerce has gone through this big, sort of washing machine cycle of high and low, and a lot of people kind of getting washed out and deciding it's not for them anymore. And now it's finally kind of ordering has finally picked back up to it's at its its COVID level, right?
Right.
So after COVID, it fell down and now it's finally back up, and it'll probably keep going up because let's face it, ordering online is, the easiest way to do it, right?
Right.
You don't have to get in your car and drive anywhere and look for stuff. But there's more competition, and it's gone from when 10 years ago it was easy money to now it's just like any other business. You can be successful for sure, but you got to put in the hard work. You got to find the right products. You got to make them unique. You got to build a brand. You got to strategically advertise to your customers. You got to, try to own the customer relationship, which of course Amazon doesn't encourage, but maybe there's other ways to get involved with who your customers are and be in front of them and build that relationship. And it's all hard work. And some people can be really successful at it, but it's not just quick buy something on Alibaba and put it
It's turning around.
on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
That business is way in the rearview mirror.
Thank goodness.
So that's kind of the trend it's been,
Yep.
and the trend it's going to. There'll always be very successful people selling stuff online, but it's just not something you can learn from YouTube in 20 minutes anymore.
Right. Right. It's gonna be interesting. We talk the last couple episodes we talked a lot about social commerce and kind of where things are going there and how to do all of that and how to navigate all of that. Putting up different content pieces again, trying to relate it to accounting, how you're gonna factor in and look at all these different channels like we discussed earlier and saying what are the ones I really want to be on? What are the ones that are actually making me money and what are the ones that we can cut and not be a part of anymore? So I'd be very interested to see if anything else comes up, as far as these different things go. I know TikTok obviously is the big one, of course, everyone's talking about, and how in the last 5 years it's become something that instead of dancing and singing songs on, now you're selling billions of dollars with a B, which is insanity. Um, it's very, very strange. It's almost a little too strange. I'm not one for conspiracies. That's a lie. I am, but it's a little too strange. Like what happened here? This is app that almost just got shut down in the U.S. and now it's doing billions of dollars. But it's very interesting. So, but on and we can get into that, but on also on CapForge specifically, what what would you say sets apart the people that are, and maybe this is a simple answer, but to ask the question, I think it's a fun question. What sets apart the people that are successfully running an e-commerce business and is successfully managing their accounting versus the people that are not, people that are struggling?
It really, I think, comes down to attention and intention, right? The people who got into this and said, look, I'm going to give it my best shot to run a legitimate business. And they're thinking about logistics. They're thinking about supply chains. They're thinking about branding. They're thinking about who their customers are and how to get in front of them and all that kind of stuff. They're troubleshooting. Okay, this is working. This isn't working. They're looking at the data. They're making data-driven decisions and they don't always get it right, but they're at least generally directionally going in the right direction.
Right.
Whereas the people who thought either it was going to be easy money or it was going to be just this quick side hustle or whatever, not really paying attention, not thinking about who would buy their stuff or why, or trying to legitimately operate a business. You could do that again 6, 7, 8 years ago. You could kind of see it if your pants do it,
Hmm.
but it's just the landscape is too competitive. The margins are too thin. It just, you can't skate by like that anymore. So the difference between success and struggle is really the intention to use the data to make good decisions, learn from mistakes, and keep pressing forward in a test, try, measure, try again kind of rhythm
Yep.
rather than just spray and pray and hope.
Hope a product lands. Kind of like we said with the catalogs too, of you want to focus in on what you are good at and what you can make and what you can make profitably and not just doing a shampoo and a hairbrush, just doing the shampoo kind of thing. So very interesting. Is there anything you wish more businesses knew about accounting, specifically in the e-commerce side of things, or is there anything that, um, just in general, do you wish that business owners knew more about X, Y, and Z for accounting and say financial management as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I wish that they all understood how important it was, but also how not scary it is, right? I think it's like going to the dentist or doing your taxes. They want to put it off till the very last minute because they imagine it's going to be painful and ugly. But it's really not. It's really a super useful tool that can really help you get
Hmm.
where you want to go faster. And, if you're working with the right team, you're going to see immediate results and insights that are going to help you run your business better. And you don't have to do any of the heavy work to get to those insights and decisions. You just have to work with a team that's going to be able to provide it to you. And I think a lot of people either don't think that's important or one's as good as the next, or the bookkeeper that's down the road, or the CPA that I use for my real estate business or my personal taxes. What's the difference, right? They're all just accountants. And they're not even realizing what they're not getting,
Yeah.
right? They don't understand what they're missing. And as a result, they're missing a lot.
Right. The unknown unknown is scarier than the known unknown. Things that you do not know, you don't even know, are a lot more dangerous than the things that you do know that you don't know. You're gonna have to rewind that, viewers, and watch that and listen to that a few more times because I don't even understand what I think I get it. I think I get it. Actually, I get it. Matt, thank you. This has been wonderful, wonderful episode. We'll have to have you back on for a more in-depth, accounting focused episode. But this has been an amazing time chatting with you about the benefits of, again, not having a blackout windshield, and about why you should drive with your eyes open. So, and in e-commerce accounting business terms. Any final thoughts for us on really maybe going into Q4 or just in general on our entire discussion? Any final thoughts on what businesses can do to better themselves for this year and next?
I mean, fundamentally, things are going to get harder
Mhm,
before they get easier again.
mhm.
So, to that extent, right, you want to use all the tools, all the best tools available to you to get through that. And you can get through it, but you have to be equipped to do it, right? You don't want to go through the snowstorm in a bathing suit, right?
Right,
Now's the time to get on the snow pants and the parka and the wool mittens and everything else and be prepared. And then you'll come out the other side and now it's summer again and back to good times. But, I think it's going to get more challenging for a while before it gets easier. And you're going to do a lot better getting through that if you're well equipped with the right information, the right data to navigate that.
right. Again, if you're able to see while you're driving. So, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. I will have your LinkedIn and CapForge's website linked down below. Anything else we should include in the YouTube description for our viewers?
No, that's really it. I mean, the best place to learn more about us is capforge.com on the website. And then we always do a free consultation. So if you're not sure this is something you want, or you're already working with somebody, or you just don't know if you're big enough or you're too big or whatever, I always encourage everybody, look, let's just have a conversation, right?
Let's
If I can
chat.
help you, great. If you just want to have the conversation, you still want to go somewhere else, or you don't want to work with us, no problem. We're just not a hard sales pitch organization. We're really just here to help as many people as want to work with us get the help and improve their businesses, drive to profitability and growth. And, if you're not sure, it doesn't cost anything. I'm happy to give you my time, my
Right.
2 cents, and, take it from there.
You've heard it here first, folks. Use code Velocity for 10% off of your free consultation at capforge.com. Go check it out. Again,
While supplies last,
right.
though.
Right. Learn more about how your business could be doing better and how you could be managing your books better. I was going to say cooking your books, but that's illegal. Um,
That we have a different department for that.
oh, perfect. Okay, that'll be a whole other episode. I really need help with that.
Yeah,
Don't audit
right.
me, IRS. But no, Matt, thank you so much for coming on again. We'll have another episode again where we talk about just more in-depth accounting. I was a business major in college, so they had us take a few. I took accounting too. I did pretty good, but my teacher was great. So I feel like that's the only reason why I passed. I feel like it wasn't because I was good at accounting. He was just a good teacher, and I absorbed things pretty easily. But um, I need to learn more about accounting because I feel like I, again, need the help if I ever want to start my own business here. So I appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for coming on. I will have Matt's LinkedIn and CapForge's homepage linked down below. Make sure to check both of those out. And Matt, thank you so much again.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. I am your host, Velocity Pete, and we will see you next week.